Hi, everybody. I'm here with Eddie Villa, the founder of Unleash Your Strengths and author of 2 books so far, with more coming our way. And Eddie is going to show us today what happens when he looks at a strength report and what he sees. He is a Gallup certified coach. However, he looks at it a little bit differently from a different viewpoint. And Eddie, can you talk to us a little bit about that today?
Yeah. So whenever I go into situations where I want to talk to a person about their strengths, I have one agenda. My one agenda is to help them see where are they at their best. How do they just do everything in a way that's fully authentic? And I also want them to see, what does it look like when they're not being their best self? And what I mean by that is how oftentimes we get caught in situations and we get wrapped up in the emotions of something. And then we end up getting, we'll say, triggered, right? And then through that triggering, we lose control of our best self. And then we just become, sometimes spitefully, become our worst self. And then in a reaction to the situation. And then the worst part about it is we never actually get what we really want. Well, let's look at it simply. Like if somebody says something that bothers you, and then you snap back in a way that's just not who you authentically are. And then what you truly want in that situation doesn't get achieved. Well, the truth is we do that in every area of our life, our business, our relationships, our marriage, our parenting, all that fun stuff. And what I want to do with Strengths is help people know exactly who they're becoming when they're becoming their worst self, and how to stay and know exactly what is their best self. And the greatest thing about it is that none of it is my idea. It's all their idea based on how they answered the assessment and how their strengths show up. And so this is my favorite part. I love doing this.
Well, I love this. And so I thought it would be a fun surprise to show everybody my strengths and see if you can figure out what I'm using to connect and create this Global Strength Summit, if you wouldn't mind.
So let me ask that one more time. Just want to make sure I have that in mind, because when we're using people's strengths, it's not like, let me tell you about your strengths. It's more like, what do you want to apply your strengths to? So if you can say that one more time for me, that way I got it locked in.
If you can show me what strengths are showing up when I'm creating something like a Global Strength Summit, and how I can best stay in my top strengths while I'm creating these things, that would be fabulous.
Yeah. And so let's look at it that way. Like you come to me going, Eddie, I'm going to do this Global Strength Summit. How do I be my best self here? And what do I look for to make sure that I don't get triggered into being something like that I'm not, right? Okay.
Right, because who wants to be triggered into something that they're not? That's
right. None of us want it, even though it happens all the time, right?
Amen.
All right, let's go.
Okay, here we go. Here it is.
All right, so whenever I see a strengths report, I'm going to just kind of walk you through what's going on in my head. A lot of people, like I could just right now, I could just go crazy and start telling you all these things. But what I also want you to do is to know what's going on in my mind to kind of help you or anybody else that's watching this to kind of get some skill here. So the first thing I do is I look at the top 10. And what I want to do is get a big overview, big picture view of it. Just to understand what is the fundamental of the person. So in this case, we're looking at you, Jay. And the first thing that pops out is in your top 10, you've got what I call 2 dominant domains. And these are desires that must be honored with everything you do. So when you're doing this Global Strength Summit, your best self is when you begin with these 2 desires in mind. The first is you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 relationship building and 1, 2, 3, 4 influencing. Now, these influencing desires, based on how I view the strengths report, not necessarily like Gallup, it's a little different, is that the influencing and the relationship building desires are equally important, and you can start with either one or both. And the desires are, first, with influencing, to move people forward. So this Global Strength Summit must be about helping people get from where they are to where they want to be, the way they want to get there, with you helping them do it. And the second part is the relationship building, which is the desire to connect with people, or I should say the right people. In this case, to the people that are watching and the people that are participating, as well as you. How are you connecting with them, understanding them, being of value and service with no expectations, requirements, or judgments? It's simply, how do I connect with these beautiful people, and how do I move these people forward towards what they want? right off the bat, if you begin with that process in mind, all the other aspects that get to go into a global strength summit, like the structures and the process, or the technical aspects of putting together a summit, or even the creative or strategic or analytical sides of this process. Those two things are not important for you to honor. It's first to influence and connect. Once you influence and connect, the processes and the analytical aspects of it become more, authentically done your way. And then, of course, you can always invite people who are highly analytical or highly technical to help you fill in the gaps to this process. The beautiful thing about this is the strengths remind us that we're not supposed to do things by ourselves. So when it comes to the Global Strength Summit, I would ask you the most important question. Why do you care so much about why do you care so much about connecting with the right people? And why does it matter to you to move them towards something that they want? Right? That's what I would start asking you. And then we would have a dialogue. Do you have an answer for those already, by the way, just out of curiosity?
It's important for me to connect with people who want to share the mission of changing the world in a positive way using the strengths. That's what I want to do. I want to move the world forward. We're at a time right now where we got stuck for a little while, and I want to get unstuck, and I want to do it by sharing the strengths with everybody.
Awesome. And so what I'm looking at here is, what I hope everyone is hearing it, is through two things: inspiration and authentic connection. Right? Influencing is about inspiration. Relationship building is about authentic connection. In other words, you don't want to connect with somebody who has to be something they're not in order to connect with you.
Correct.
Right? That would be inauthentic connection, right? So inspiration and authenticity. You can literally put those two words in all of your marketing messages and all the things that you do. Anytime you talk, it's about inspiring authentically inspiring, to be authentically inspired, to inspire authentically. Do you feel that? Just those two words alone, like speaking to why you're doing the summit to begin with?
It's so powerful. So
right?
Powerful, yeah.
It's certainly not, let's learn all the websites and all the computer processes to download videos from this and to make sure the audio and on.
That is not who I am.
Right. So when you are your best self, you are doing those two things. All right. Now, when I look at that's how I start, and look at how much we've gotten just by looking at the big picture, right? Now, the next thing I do is I look at each of the top 10, and I realize that what I look at is how each of the top 10 honors those two desires in their own unique way. So Activator is a certain way of doing things. It's like a tool. Okay, what is Activator? Activator is getting ideas. This is just a general example. Activators like getting ideas and want to do things with other people. Okay, so I know that sounds perfect for Jay because that's what we were just talking about. But the way Activator works independently of all the other strengths is it's very impulsive. It's almost like Jay gets a download, and that download sets a fire inside of her heart, and that fire, like a fuse, lights up and goes right to her mouth, and then it pops and her mouth opens up and she starts saying things that moves and connects with people. Does that make sense?
It sounds like a firecracker on the 4th of July.
There you go. And that's one way I would describe you, right? So that's one piece. Maximizer is about focusing on what's great already with you and all the people involved, and talk about being in the pursuit of more of higher level of greatness without ever truly achieving it. It's the joy of the process and the going on the journey to achieve greatness is where joy is found. Does that sound right?
Yes, it's like having unlimited arrows in my quiver and just constantly shooting for that goal, but always moving forward.
Yeah, like in other words, there's no center. There's a center, but you're never achieving it. You're always striving for achieving that center, that perfection. And because maximizers are never satisfied. And that's, for Jay, this is a good thing, because every time something great is done, there's always a way to do it better. And that's how you do things best, by living in the joy of the process of pursuing greatness. Does that make sense?
That is true.
Okay, so we got firecracker and pursuing greatness. Okay, Next, positivity, contagious enthusiasm, always making sure that the rule is that whatever we talk about has to be positive. You literally said that in your description of the Global Strength Summit, right?
Correct. People have to want to move forward. They have to want to get unstuck. They want to rewrite their story or change their story. And then do it with joy and have fun.
So this Global Strength Summit, for the people that you want to serve, for you, you have to know that it has to light a fire within to help people focus on what's great about them and only focus on the good, because that's what works. And then the next part is individualization, needing to see the uniqueness of people's talents and perspectives. Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
So of course you're interviewing a whole bunch of people. You're seeing uniqueness in people to highlight in other people. We are all unique. These people you're interviewing are not the only special ones on the planet, are they?
No, they're not.
So are the audience. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to honor your talents and your strengths, and honor your personal, unique, authentic goal is to highlight the fact that these people are people just like everybody else. And you're not putting them on the stage to put them above anybody else. You're featuring them like you would feature any other human being on this planet who wants to show up in their greatness.
100% true.
So make that part of your Global Strength Summit. Let people know these people aren't on a pedestal. They're wonderful people, just like you watching. And what I'm going to encourage you is to tell them, don't look at these people as people to compare yourself to. Look at these people as examples of people who are stepping into their greatness just like you. And I'm going to encourage you to be that type of person who steps into their own greatness. Does that make sense?
It does. We all have the same problems. We all think our problems are different, but our problems are all the same, but we're all unique. And that's individualization. We're going to come to the table and learn how to solve our problem by learning the strengths.
Yeah. So remember that, always helping people to not compare. I mean, I see right down there is competition is 28. So that is an authentic statement for you, is to tell people don't compare. Because for you, it's a draining process to compare. All right, let's look at number 5, which is relator, is keeping the circle small. Keeping the circle small, that means the people that you work with that are a part of this Global Strength Summit, so you've got multiple circles. You've got the circle of those that are there to help you execute the process. But there's also a circle of the speakers, right? And so you're looking at ways of keeping that circle tight and making sure that that circle honors the rule of why the summit is taking place to begin with. And so ultimately for you is, what is one rule that the Global Strength Summit stands for? And the goal is to make sure that each and every one of the speakers that you invite onto the stage, they all agree with that rule. What they do is in alignment with that rule. Does that make sense?
100%. We're all here for the same reason.
Okay, so look at that. That's 5 different tools that you use to honor one thing, to make this Global Strength Summit amazing through your desire to connect and move people forward and inspire. Yes?
Yes.
All right, so that's how I go about it. I could, I don't want to take forever with this. I just want to help everyone understand that just with the top 5 alone, we're already seeing things that Jay must do. Honor her impulses, always focus on what's great about her, and focus on what's great about the speakers, focus on what's great about those that are involved in putting this together. Always be a contagious and enthusiastic energy source for this Global Strength Summit. Always focus on the unique talents of every human being, because everybody brings something unique to the table and nobody needs to be everything, including you. And then making sure that each of the small circles involved in this Strength Summit are all on the same page when it comes to the most important rule of the Strength Summit. What is the overall purpose of this whole program? Now, without going into 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, I would like to look at your bottom 5, just so people can understand why those are there. And so when we look at deliberative, learner, context, restorative, and input, let me just kind of give you short descriptions of each of these so you can all see why these are best staying down there low. So input, knowing everything. Jay doesn't need to know everything. When she thinks she has to know everything, that's when she becomes de-energized and drained. Know everything about everything, really, is what we're talking about. Restorative is about fixing anything that is broken in her mind. To fix something that's broken would acknowledge that it's broken and not focus on its greatness like you love to do with Maximizer. With context, it's about focusing on the past. And by focusing on the past, it's harder to focus on the moving forward. We want to move forward despite the past. The past doesn't matter. Is that correct? Would you say that's true for you?
That is correct. Yes.
Right. Like, I love this. The quote is, God doesn't care who you've been. God cares about who you are and who you want to be going forward. And so when we go to the next one, which is learner, people that are high in learner love to learn regardless of what you do with it. This is the opposite of Jay. Jay is of the opinion that if you're going to spend time learning something, it had better help you apply it, and it must be applied. Otherwise, what's the point of the learning, right?
That is true.
And learners don't care. Learners just love to learn. And then the last one, of course, is deliberative. People of high deliberative love to look for the right decision. They enjoy the process of taking emotion out of a thing that is being done and just make the perfect, decision that is the perfect logical decision. I'll call that one the Mr. Spock strength, right? Mm-hmm. So to sum up, right, Jay is best when she is moving people forward and connecting with them and bringing energy and joy through positivity, maximization, and so on. She is at her worst self when she thinks she has to know everything, fix what's broken, focus on the past, be a high learner with no desire to execute and to overthink details that are not important.
Wow, that sums it up. That sounds right. That's what makes making the Strength Summit so exciting, and having people like you as my special keynote speaker to just share this valuable information with the world. So thank you so much, Eddie, for doing this today with us.
You're welcome. And I love doing this. And honestly, my favorite thing is to teach other people how to do it. So thank you for letting me kind of put everybody in my head a little bit.
You're welcome. We'll see you all on December 10th.
Bye, everybody.